Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are over. If he cannot keep his caucus together, he needs to go.
Chaos erupted on The View as the hosts clashed over the Democrats' latest push to reopen the government, with the DNC's newest scandal shocking everyone and damaging the party. Some Democrats quickly condemned their own leadership, seeing it as a complete betrayal. Sunny Host was at the center, frustrated and angry, as her co-host piled on after her sharp critique of the DNC. The discussion grew so heated that it almost felt like someone should call the fire brigade.
I've been saying from the outset, I don't think anyone wins in a government shutdown, and I welcome this deal, and let me tell you why. So the fight over extending the Obamacare subsidies is about addressing 22 million Americans who are going to see their healthcare premiums skyrocket. I believe that's important. I'm with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'm with Mike Lawler, and a number of Republicans who believe we have to extend those for at least a year. However, in the interim, while the government remains shut down, 42 million people are losing SNAP benefits ahead of the holidays. So to me, we've got to hold out for those 22 million whose premiums are going to go up, but deny these people SNAP benefits in the meantime. That math doesn't matter.
That's Alyssa Griffin passionately arguing that the Democrats' choice to reopen the government was both wise and necessary. Honestly, is anyone surprised? Alyssa's political leanings are well known, so her stance isn't shocking. But here's the thing. She actually makes a valid point. Why should 42 million hardworking Americans suffer or go hungry over a political standoff affecting 22 million people? The numbers and the ethics just don't add up. Whether you agree with her or not, her argument forces a tough truth into the spotlight. Sometimes political pride comes at too high a cost. Yet Sunny reacts with retaliation simply because she disagrees with Alyssa.
Democrats are going to look like losers if they're just attacking each other in this. For some reason, Marjorie Taylor Greene was better at messaging the stakes of this shutdown, it feels like, than a lot of Democrats were. You have to give people the benefits they are entitled to under SNAP. You have to address the underlying issues of the crisis of healthcare in this country, but get government back working. No one can get anywhere. Flights aren't flying. The holidays are coming.
Yeah.
This is a welcome decision in my mind.
Okay. Look, let's be clear. The Republicans run the House. The Republicans run the Senate. The Republicans run the White House. The Republicans run the Supreme Court, as far as I'm concerned. This was a choice by Republicans to cut SNAP benefits. This was a choice by Republicans to cut ACA subsidies. This was a choice by the Republicans to gut the federal government and federal employment. Democrats had nothing.
The Democrats promoted the Affordable Care Act, claiming it would lower healthcare costs for everyone. Sounds admirable, right? But in response, Republicans objected to controversial funding provisions and refused to comply. The result was a painful 41-day government shutdown, leaving millions stranded. When SNAP benefits were cut, nearly 40 million Americans, many families and seniors, felt the consequences of Washington's deadlock. Eventually, the Democrats conceded and reopened the government. Yet, on national television, Sunny Hostin placed the blame on Republicans for the fallout. Given everything that happened, it's hard to take that argument seriously.
I want an opposition party. I think the Democrats caved. I think the Democrats let down the American people. And like you, Whoopi, I have absolutely no faith that the Republican Party will come to the negotiating table in good faith. You know, you do something like this, shame on you the first time. You do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, shame on me. Shame on the Democrats for even believing that the Republicans will, even vote on it. There's no guarantee in this New Deal that there's going to be a vote. There's no even commitment to have a vote. So the bottom line is the Democrats went into this after a blue wave out of the American people saying, we do want the opposition. We the working people want the Democratic Party to fight for them. And now they just caved and surrendered. I think Chuck Schumer, his days are...
I rarely find myself agreeing with Sunny Hostin. After that blue wave, the Democrats were riding high, winning major elections across several states. They had momentum, the working class on their side, and the Republicans defensive, trapped, and scrambling for a plan. It seemed like the perfect moment to showcase their strength and build on their successes. Yet somehow they fumbled. Instead of capitalizing on their advantage, they stumbled into another self-inflicted setback. By reopening the government without significant compromises, they handed Republicans a political win on a silver platter. It's baffling. They had victory within reach and still managed to lose it.
Can I keep this caucus together? He needs to go. He needs to be.
I completely disagree with you, Sonny, for this reason, what you rattled off. The Republicans run the executive branch, the legislative, the judicial, according to you. They have all the power right now. The problem here is it's a privilege to say our food's not affected, our health insurance,
There are people in my family that receive SNAP benefits.
I'm not just saying, I'm not meaning family. We're all affected by, as we go out. But I'm saying right here to say it's a privilege that they don't have health care and now they don't have food. The people are struggling so much. Our food banks all week in our towns, we're at the food banks. We were delivering nonstop and we kept getting notifications. They're empty again. They're empty again. Opposition, people can vote in a blue wave and say, but opposition, when you have no power, is not.
It's exactly the issue with Sunny Host. She talks about party unity and goals from her comfortable studio perch, but her reasoning seems disconnected from the real-world impact of these political decisions. Unlike those directly affected by reduced SNAP benefits, she isn't a single parent struggling to make ends meet. Yet, she wishes Chuck Schumer had persuaded the caucus to oppose reopening the government, as if a few more weeks of shutdown wouldn't devastate millions already fighting to survive. Political strategy is easy when you're not the one facing the consequences. On paper, Sunny's position might sound reasonable. In reality, it exposes a startling detachment from the very people her party claims to represent.
Because with Donald Trump, the cruelty is the point. He does not care. This is a Republican choice. The last thing that I'll say about the federal workers, there's a 2019 law that requires the federal government to pay federal workers.
It's the law.
It's the law. So the fact that the Democrats traded in their vote to get federal workers working again is ludicrous. Let the courts do their job.
No, it's to get SNAP benefits out. People can't eat. People can't afford the holidays. It's the right thing. People should.
This is exactly what happens when you live in a bubble, completely removed from the harsh realities that everyday Americans face. Rent struggles for the working class and SNAP recipients worrying about their next meal. In politics, grandstanding doesn't solve real problems. In fact, this disconnect was a major reason Democrats lost the election. Instead of addressing everyday concerns, they spent the past 4 years caught up in ideological disputes and cultural debates that mean little to most Americans. While the economy faltered, their focus remained on virtue signaling. The party now seems to be trying to refocus on the people, but for figures like Sonny Holen, it's still never enough. They appear to care more about moral theatrics than tangible results.
Explain this to me like I eat with my feet. Why?
How do you explain, though, to your constituents why it was worth it to put up this fight for so long when in the end you did not get your key demand?
Like Sonny Hostin, Jon Stewart couldn't understand why the DNC conceded once their demands weren't met. He felt the Democrats gave up too easily, surrendering much-needed power. Stewart wondered how it all made sense. What was the real purpose of reopening the government while negotiations were still underway? Was it strategy, pressure, or simply giving up? Curious, he asked the DNC for an explanation. Now let's hear their response, and Jon Stewart's candid reaction will be discussed immediately after. You won't want to miss it.
It wasn't working.
You don't make life harder for millions of Americans. You step back and keep moving. When the government shuts down for political reasons, it's the poor and working class who bear the brunt. You wouldn't expect someone like Jon Stewart to fully grasp that perspective, of course. His outlook leans more toward political idealism than practical realism. Leadership sometimes means knowing when to step back rather than push forward. Either way, his reaction here clearly shows his dismay at the DNC's choice.
How are we being ruled by the only old people who don't stubbornly cling to shit whether it's working or not? That's the whole point of being an old person.
Can you see what I mean? For Jon Stewart, the political theater seemed to matter more than the real impact of the SNAP payment cuts. Too often, appearances take priority over genuine empathy. There are grand gestures, moral outrage, and endless virtue signaling until it's time to show real concern for those who are actually struggling. It's deeply ironic. These are the same voices that condemn injustice abroad while ignoring poverty, hunger, and hardship at home. Preaching compassion on TV is easy. Showing it to Americans fighting to survive takes true courage.
Never has the gap between this administration and the people it claims to serve been so disgustingly visible than during this.
In the end, it all seemed aimed at scoring political points. Nothing more. Look at Jon Stewart's response. He appeared unmoved by the real effects of the shutdown, even as millions struggled to put food on the table. That disconnect is part of what's weighing the party down. The DNC needs to replace political posturing with real results, because the public is tired of empty gestures and public outrage. If they don't recognize that quickly, they could face another major loss. The message is simple: less theater, more problem solving. Voters respond to solutions far more than to words. The media's obsession with Trump is back. For 4 exhausting years, late-night comedians, journalists, and political elites fixated on every move he made, mocking him, twisting his words, and predicting disaster at every turn. And what did it accomplish? History seems to be repeating itself, even with his re-election. Trump supporters argue that he is focused on rebuilding America, strengthening the economy, and restoring confidence in institutions. Yet the same commentators remain obsessed with portraying him as a villain, no matter the progress. It's the same story, the same exaggerated outrage, and the same failure to see reality. Meanwhile, the country moves forward, whether they approve or not. The end result, a small but remarkable. We can only wish them well as they continue making themselves seem unappealing to voters. Let's be honest, being criticized in politics is nothing new. Not every leader is loved, and every public figure faces disapproval from a significant portion of the population. Nearly half the country may never support them, so the criticism they face is rarely surprising or groundbreaking. It doesn't mean the DNC is gaining popularity or signaling a major political shift. Public criticism has always been part of the game, and isolated negative incidents rarely translate into real victories. Thanks to his ability to push forward despite the noise, he remains a powerful figure in American politics. The broader pattern, however, is clear. There's a persistent disconnect between media figures, politicians, and the everyday struggles of Americans. As shown by the Democrats' mistakes during the government shutdown and ongoing critiques from people like Sonny Hostin, political posturing often overshadows real-world consequences. Snap cuts, working-class hardships, and families going hungry should never be treated as collateral damage in a political game. Yet all too often, the focus shifts to scoring points, grandstanding, and virtue signaling. Supporters argue that while millions suffer in silence, he has focused on measurable results and restoring public trust. Unless the DNC starts prioritizing practical solutions over spectacle, the media will continue emphasizing outrage, optics, and narratives rather than facts. Because of these repeated missteps, Americans may look for leadership elsewhere in 2028 and beyond.